Today I will reveal to you some of the most amazing comic book art you've never seen. Hey everyone, it's vmcampos Comic Book Fan. Welcome to the latest episode of the weekly vmcampos Comic Book Club. If you want to help out the channel, don't forget to go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos, and pledge for $3.33 a month. What a deal. If you can't quite pledge at the moment, no worries. Click like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that good stuff. You know what to do. So this week I'm going to show you one of the prized items of my collection, actually 4 comics, prized items of my collection, because this is some of the most amazing artwork I've ever seen. So yes, if you see here on screen, this is Tank Girl. I'm going to show you some Tank Girl comics. Now this is Tank Girl 2, or Tank Girl Squared, or however it's officially said. Tank Girl 2, this is the sequel to the first Tank Girl series, which I do not have. It's big bucks. That was first published by Dark Horse. This is Volume 2. Now, actually, the first Tank Girl appeared in the United Kingdom in the comic series Deadline, which was, music-related alternative stuff in the 90s. Then Dark Horse published Tank Girl in the US. It was a smash hit, and then we have Volume 2. So we're going to look at some of the art on this series. Now, quickly looking at the covers. Okay, so we got this weird, scary, crazy doctor guy, Tank Girl herself. This is kind of really disturbing because, a lot of people are afraid of hospitals and stuff. And who wouldn't be scared of a doctor with needles in his hands? And what are these labeled as? Root beer, lemonade, vodka. Okay, and then Tank Girl, she's usually very tough and stoic, but here she's just utterly defeated by this evil doctor guy. Moving on to the second cover. This one's hilarious. This is like this style of Tank Girl that I love. I need this on a t-shirt. Tank Girl in a mini sort of tank dropping bombs. Okay, wait, dropping bombs, but it's in the air, but it's a tank. Okay, doesn't make sense, but it's still amazing. And we have the onomatopoeia. Bang, 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 bang. Bunch of things happening. Amazing. Just the details here, like her cracked goggle. That's amazing. Number 3. Okay, this one just is stuck in my mind since the 90s. I remember seeing this cover and it just blew me away because, hey, that guy looks like Batman, but he's like a little nerd cosplaying with badass Tank Girl herself not giving an F. And if we zoom in very closely right here to the word balloon, what is he saying? Excuse me, it's my foot you're treading on. That's hilarious. That has stuck with me for decades. Simple gradient background, the 2 characters in full body, and then again the little details, like those little sparks happening down there. Hilarious. And lastly, issue number 4. This is an epic cover. I love this cover. This night scene, snowy scene, character taking up the focus of the book. And if you look in the corner, there's a couple of little guys over here. Don't shoot, no! There's always these amazing details in Tank Girl comics, and we can, of course, thank Jamie Hewlett for that. As the series went on, it got more insane and more detailed, and I am here for it. All right, so those are the various covers, but let's look at some interior art. And like I promised, you're going to see some of the most amazing art that you've never seen before in your life. All right, it starts off over here. Very close-up of Tank Girl. We've got a screen tone going on. Copyright says this is published in June 1993. Wow, 30 years ago. And so we start the brand new series with Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin. Martin is still working on Tank Girl nowadays, 30 years later. We have various other artists like Parsons, who's also very, very good. Now, one thing I will admit, it might be an acquired taste if you do like Tank Girl art or not. If you don't like Tank Girl art, there's something wrong with you because some of this art is just utterly amazing. Not only do we have great drawing, but we have great panel layouts. And as we progress through the series, we're going to see a variety of very interesting panels. Like even just starting right here. Look at this. There's a scientific name for it or whatever, where you've got one panel moving on to another panel, but it's the same concept in both panels, but it's a sequence of time happening through the panels. Yeah, it's got some highfalutin term that I can't remember. We got a big panel here with a lot of word balloons and a lot of detail to look at in the art. And again, there's just lots and lots of detail. You really get your bang for your buck for the $2.50 that you pay for this. Every page is just full of details in the art, in the storytelling, and the text. You get all of these weird terms that I don't know if these are British terms or these are just like Martin and Hewlett terms like hellhoppers. What are we even saying there? Hello? jalapenos. I don't know what we're saying. We're going to see so many weird bits of slang here and there that, again, tell me if you're British or in the Dominion, are these like real words people use, or are these just weird words that they use? Okay, here's one of the very first, like, really eye-catching panels here. We have this optical illusion, perhaps op art style, with some text at the bottom. Just this horrific scene where Tank Girl is in a mental asylum or something. You gotta stop and read it yourself there. But that's one of my nightmares, to end up in an insane asylum where I'm telling everyone, hey, I'm not crazy, I'm smart, leave me alone. All right, so we see this amazing panel, and it's actually in the back as well in color. So we have this stark bare light bulb casting shadows upon Tank Girl. The background op art spiral is a little bit different. Which one do you like better, actually? Do you like the back cover where it's one simple spiral, or do you like the spirals and radiating lines? And again, color versus not color, which do you like better? Tell me in the comments. Moving on. Okay, so this is just such a weird series because it's continuing the stuff, the plots and such from Tank Girl 1, back when it was much more cohesive, and it went on to go into more incohesiveness as time went on. There were somewhat sequential stories going on, but there was just so many flights of fancy as well. Now, something's happening, Booga is dead, but was it a dream? I don't know what's going on. And then we have right here, hey, that's like a photocopied bit of art. I don't know if that's Martin or Hewlett, but we've got a real person there within the art, and then the cartoony people, and then the story ends. Force 10 to Ringarooma Bay. Next up. Copyright 1990. Now, the artwork on the cover over here says 1993. This is 1990. Now, I tried to look up to see where else these were reprinted, because I thought they must have been reprinted in, an issue of Deadline or somewhere. But according to comics.org, the most important website about comics, it says that it was reprinted, but at a later time, at least 10 years later. So that doesn't make sense. Tell me in the comments if you know if these strips were previously printed somewhere else before the Dark Horse printings. Here we have some self-portraits. And then these, what are these? These like one-shots, one page. There's that scene that kind of started over here vaguely, and then we continue over here. I guess it's the same scene because her clothing continues over here, but there's other characters, so that's weird. Again, there's just a lot of non sequiturs in a Tank Girl comic with just weird stuff, because, look at these characters. They look realistic, but cartoony. All of this exaggeration. Here we have some recollections of being, at a girls' boarding school and the like. And then just some of these hilarious panels, and some things are just eerily too accurate. But every single page is a feast for the eyes. Now let me jump over here, because after these particular stories, we have this story within a story where we have Jet Girl reading a comic book with a particular title there. It's not what you think, don't worry. And so we're reading a comic book within a comic book. This is amazing panel layout. This is fourth wall stuff right here. It's just amazing. Now we are missing the bits of empty of the world because we're focused on the comic itself. And here, this layout here didn't quite match up with the spread that it could have been, but you can imagine that it's connecting. So we got a comic inside of a comic. Amazing. Just the detail going on here. And then, yes, we see that maybe the name of the book does match for some reason, but that's happening in the real world, not in the comic. So again, weird. But here we have the perfect focus of the comic in the background, Jet Girl in the foreground, and then a super foreground. So yeah, amazing and weird. And then what's next? Even more amazing and weird. Whoa, we get to color. This started off as a black and white comic, and then we get to color over here with one of the other stories here. This is Asky and Hunch. So obviously a Starsky and Hutch imitation. Now, it might not show up great in the camera, but the registration, the color plates on this page over here are horrible. Let's see if we can get a close-up over here. All right, maybe we can see it there, how the color is just not lining up where it's supposed to be, which then causes a weird blurry effect. Not too cool. But then it's fixed right on the next page. So nice color registration there. And yes, that does seem to look like Andy Warhol, just more evil than ever. So we get into a color section, and that's what these 4 books are going to have, which is very interesting. A black and white section and then a color section. The color section is then where the book is just the most amazing, because some of these colors, look at these sickly colors on this character, and then the flowers in the background and this little mobile. I just realized it's a tri-mobile with a cool gun. And so this is all in color, where the beginning was in black and white. So you can really see Hewlett stretching his chops. That's not the right expression, but he's really stretching out and showing off his chops, where we have great black and white and then color stuff. But wait a minute, this black and white stuff was eventually reprinted in color. Here are these reprints, these 2018 reprints that were published by Titan, the home of the Resurrected Tank Girl, which I believe now is over at Eric Powell's company. So anyway, these were reprints of these various books. And what's fascinating here is that we've got those stories in color. Hey, wait a minute. Okay, now this makes sense. Yeah, as I was saying, I thought I remember something about that these stories were published in Deadline, but comics.org does not mention this. So I think I'm going to have to go in and edit that oversight that these original stories were published in this issue of Deadline, which were then reprinted later in the Dark Horse books, because that's kind of wrong on comics.org. Anyway, here we have color. So if we kind of compare a little bit, we're missing that, but here we start off the story black and white, and here it is in color. So the color versus the black and white. The line art is very faithful, but then we get color. Now, this is, of course, cheap newsprint, and then here we have modern glossy color paper, and you can compare there. The colors look really nice. To add it to the black and white story originally published and such. Let me jump over to the color portion over here, and we'll compare that with the reprint. The funny thing, though, is that this particular reprint edition in this volume doesn't have the ASCII and Hutch on this, but it is found on the next volume of the reprint series. You find it over here. So this is interesting then to compare. Now the pages are off, so they don't quite match. Now here's the original with the bad color registration, and then here it is fixed decades later. Well, there's a little bit of a weird hot spot right there. All right, so these colors, there's much more green on Booga over here, and this is more an accurate color, I suppose. And these colors over here pop much more. Comparing these pages. Okay, so I think on the color reprints, I don't like the color as much as on the originals. Yeah, the ink is newer, the paper is better and everything, but just the color doesn't seem quite right. It's just something a little bit off if we see this art over here. Now, this color over here is incredibly different, like very yellow to green. And again, if we see that character who's very yellow, but in the original is much more green, or I guess it kind of matches to some degree there. So yeah, these reprints were a cool series that were being published that just put everything together into a great anthology. So these are highly recommended. But I'm always going to recommend the individual strips themselves. I like those a bit more because they also have the extra stuff like the back matter, people's letters and house ads and so forth. Okay, this one starts off in color with some Phoebes over here lusting over Tank Girl, and the very first story is in color. Big, glorious color. And the sound effects, Fark. Again, are these real Britishisms? Or actually, I believe this is happening in Australia, according to the lore. Yeah, right, I bet Martin and Hewlett had never visited Australia before they invented Tank Girl. And so, just these surreal, beautiful colors. And then we get into an extremely surreal scene over here with just tremendously beautiful colors. We have the two boys in the corner here, Hewlett and Martin, 1990. They inject themselves here and there throughout their books, which is always enjoyable. We go back to black and white. We go back again to the variety of panel layouts, some effects here and there, screen tone and the like. Focus on very clean lines, but very dense, very busy screenfuls of content. Every single panel you could just pour over panel by panel. And I like how it's just a meta comic. It's not just the story, but here we have Booga's Treehouse Club. Cut that out and you've made yourself pins and such. So we've got this interactivity in these comics. It's sort of like childish interactivity, but of course for a very mature comic. Yes, very mature. This page ends here, and then it continues here, but in color. And again, these colors are just beautiful, epic. I need this on a t-shirt. This is beautiful. I would proudly walk into church with this on a t-shirt. These colors. Look at the choice of that dark shadow color of that blue there. Blurry portrait. And then they're reading some 2000 AD. Yeah, this meta stuff is just amazing. Now, if you're from the U.S., that says something. But if you're outside the U.S., that means something else, okay? So don't cancel me. This is not what you think it says. It means cigarettes, okay? Other parts of the world use the word for cigarettes. Trust me. So we have that strip of interactive color. Cut it out. Make your own little cigarette box. And then we get back to black and white. I wonder how annoying this was or complicated this was for Dark Horse to be printing these stories which have color covers. And we saw on issue 1, it started off in black and white, then it went to color. Whereas this one started off in color and then went to black and white. I would love to hear, and then it goes back to color here and there. So I'd probably wear that on a t-shirt to church. And so, yeah, I'm just wondering what would it... just behind the scenes, how did this work? Mixing the color plus the black and white in one particular comic. And we have this at the very end. Like, what is this? Stinky, smelly, sweaty bits. Okay, well, this is the name for their letters column. I don't believe this was published monthly. So this was June 93, and this one is July 93. Okay, because it was monthly, so they might be taking the letters from previous series. But actually, wait a minute. I remember, yeah, this is like fake letters that they made up themselves or something. But yeah, this is amazing. You have the text, which is then on top of some CMYK colors in the background. And yeah, it's their letters column. And we got, like I said, the back matter, like what else was being published at this time. Remember Indiana Jones comics being published by Dark Horse at the time? Amazing Arthur Adams monster art at the time with Godzilla and Creature from the Black Lagoon and such. Grendel, when they went a little bit more mainstream, going from Comico to Dark Horse. And of course, Barbed Wire, Don't Call Me Babe. So I just love to see this back matter as well. Caravan Kid, wow. Yes, that does say Dark Horse in Japanese. And this is when some of the early manga was coming to the U.S. And Dark Horse was with Studio Proteus, would be bringing a lot of the Masamune Shirow stuff to the U.S. Very soon. Another cool t-shirt there. There's just so much cool memeable artwork in these Tank Girl books. Again, you've never seen these before, I'm sure. But if you have, tell me in the comments. Were you there with the original Tank Girl comics when they reached the U.S.? Were you there when they were published originally in Deadline? Tell me in the comments. And then what do you think about the art that I'm showing here? Yeah, this is some of the most beautiful art. It's not the flat art. It's not the flat color that was being published over at the Big Two. It's just this fascinating... this mix of colors. And it's interesting, yeah, combining the black and white stuff with the color stuff. Now, this is all incredibly blurry. It's not my camera, but this is all blurry. The text is perfectly in focus, but then the art is blurry. Which, again, the registration, putting the plates together, this must have been a bit of a challenge for the people over at Dark Horse to do this. Don't worry, she'll be okay. And then some more adventures, just go back and forth from reality into dreams with all of these characters, some autobiographical characters, some original characters, and then these just short stories. And then this amazing centerfold over here. We got Tank Girl, Booga, who else is here? Jet Girl, Barney. Yeah, I need to put this up on my wall. This is amazing. I would love to see the original piece because it looks like perhaps a little bit is lost within the printing of it all. And I'd love to see the original piece. I'd love to have any of the original pieces of any of these strips, some more than others. But this is just some amazing... Okay, the printing on this looks weird. There's all of this banding going on here. So, yeah, this was a challenge to print properly to bring the vision. This looks like it's photography because I see the edge of the page here. So maybe they just photographed it right off of a page of Deadline. Yeah, that's what they must have done. They must have reprinted the printed color version. That's why we get the weird banding instead of coloring the original artwork in the US. Actually, I'm curious, what does it look like on the reprint? As I'm looking for it, I did find that one page right there with the bicycle incident, and yeah, the art there is much more in focus, so that's kind of interesting. It was photographed or set up out of focus on the American version, but here then fixed in the color reprint 30 years later. So that particular story is in the other volume. Never mind, it is in this volume, but it's just kind of out of order. There's the Jimi Hendrix Experience, but then this one happens on a previous screen. So, okay, yeah, the color has been fixed on the reprint. See, we've got solid colors, actually, on those skin tones versus these bandings and the like. You really see all of the printing that happened there not quite right, and then corrected in the future printings. Yeah, really interesting. Fascinating. Yeah, hopefully you're seeing that these stories are fascinating. And then, so yeah, we've got just a lot of psychedelic colors and the characters. Another episode of Asky and Hunch. Will they ever figure out what they're doing? Then we have the Tank Girl Guide to Joy and number 2, The Joy of Sex. So pause it and learn a little bit about things there if you wish. Just hilarious, weird stuff. That takes talent. Another one of these sticky, smelly bits. Sticky, smelly, sweaty bits. And then the ending here, next issue, final issue. We'll wrap up the video. So this one has one of the most, I think of the 3, this has the most beautiful visuals of the limited issue series. Now, if you were looking for a complete type of story, you'd be disappointed because there's a bunch of short stories, so they don't all really culminate into anything, but each one is like its own adventure. Feast for the eyes. Look at these colors, these purple colors, or blue, I suppose, these purple colors that are just... You don't see these colors. You see normal coloring, but this is anything but a normal comic. The realism, but still cartooniness. We've got like some sort of zombie that got smashed. A small little panel at the bottom reminding me of like the Sergio Aragonés marginals. And then this one does have sort of a main story starting. Got a robbery going on because we needed money. And then stuff happens. So yeah, I just love this little side story happening as well. And then we continue with the rest of the gang. This rainy scene. Just the huge amounts of color permeating every page. Yes, that does look familiar if you're of a certain age. I'll give you a moment to figure out who they're supposed to be a parody of. Do you remember those characters from Saturday morning cartoons back in the day? That's right, the Hair Bear Bunch. But they're like the hellish version, the more grown-up version. And just amazing panel layouts. Very dense panels. Again, you get your bang for your buck in every one of these books. This is beautiful coloring. That guy is going to be all right, don't worry. And then we go back to some black and white. Now, comparatively, this is interesting. The color does look slightly blurry, for lack of a better word. And then we have very sharp black and white. So if you compare the two, you'll see the difference. But if you're just looking at it on its own, it's glorious. Those are glorious. Then we get back to one more color. Now, this is completely sharp compared to this color portion. So it is what it is, but what it is amazing. So we get to Tank Girl in the fall and rise and fall and ship in a bottle. So yeah, we got Tank Girl working at a diner, annoying people being annoying, a mysterious person coming in to the town to raise a ruckus. Wow, I should just shut up and just show these pages because these are utterly beautiful pages. This one's also a little bit blurry. These are utterly beautiful pages. I need that on a t-shirt. No one's going to know, what do you have on your shirt, sir? Who's that tough girl there and her rude friend? Maybe that one also works as a cool shirt. We get to these sickly tones again. Fascinating close-ups. I need that on a t-shirt. Then back to black and white. So there was a series of The Joy of XYZ. Here we have The Joy of substances, and then the joy of comics. This is just, again, hilarious. This is just amazing cartooning, very creative. We have Hewlett and Martin in various variety of styles throughout the years, the exact same pose throughout, and then their style changing throughout the decades. Amazing. And then we have the joy of fans, and then we get the end. We have this biting social commentary. And then the book ends. Yeah, that's the last issue of the 4-issue limited series. Oh, did I show the back of this one? This is the 4-issue limited series with no real storyline, but a bunch of small stories woven in together with a lot of tremendous artwork. And we end here at the back with this rainy scene. A little note here. Jamie Hewlett, 1992, Tank Girl is back soon. Pack some cheese and pickles sandwiches. Cheese and pickle sandwiches actually sound good. And then we have that final bit of art on the back to enjoy. So there we go, long video, but I wanted to show the amazing artwork of Tank Girl 2, the limited series, published by Dark Horse Comics back in 1993, featuring some of the most amazing artwork that you've ever seen. Reprinted in 2018 in the Tank Girl Collections Volume something. These also had variant covers. Oh, here we go. It's 2.1 and 2.2, published in 2019. A little bit more artwork there in the back. Quite disturbing. But that's what Tank Girl can often be. Beautiful, quite disturbing, and a feast for the eyes. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Do all the good stuff. If you really liked the video, perhaps consider contributing over at the Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos. For $3.33 a month, you can pledge the channel. I would really appreciate it. I've been doing comic reviews for years, and if you enjoy them, hey, why not give a little something back? If you can't quite pledge monetarily, then like and share and help me go viral and all that stuff. So once again, this has been VM Campos for the weekly VM Campos Comic Book Club, and I'll see you next week.